Now, while Peter is busy watching this whole ordeal between the bird and the cat, grandfather comes out and he begins to scold Peter. There are wolves that live in the forest, and what if one came out? Then what would you do? You should be extra careful, Peter should, to stay near home. Now, in Prokofiev's music, grandfather is represented by the bassoon, one of the lowest sounding instruments. It can sound old and grumpy, as it does in this case. And you don't want to argue with the bassoon, and you don't want to get on its bad side. Well, our bassoonist in the Springfield Symphony is anything but old and grumpy. But let's learn a little bit about the bassoon from Rachael Young.
Hi everyone, my name's Rachel. I play bassoon with the Springfield Symphony, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my bassoon today. There are 6 important words to keep in mind when learning about the bassoon. And the first word is tall. The bassoon is very tall. It's almost 4.5 feet tall, so probably taller than a lot of you. And the reason it's so tall brings us to our second word, which is low. So the taller or the longer an instrument is, the lower a pitch it can produce. It has to do with the size of the sound waves that travel through it. So unlike sounding nice and high like a flute, bassoon sounds very low. Nice low notes down there. The third important word is wood. So wood is important in 2 ways. One is the bassoon itself is made out of wood, definitely a woodwind in that way, and it gives it its nice rich tone. The other way wood is important brings us to our 4th word, which is reed. So bassoonists need a little reed, which is actually 2 small pieces of wood or cane bound together, and they vibrate, which sets up the vibrations of the whole instrument and gives us that bassoon sound. So there's wood both on the bassoon and on the reed we use to play the bassoon. The next important word is kind of a funny one. It's vocal, not like vocal like singing, but vocal with a B. And that's this long silver thing here. So that basically takes the vibration of the reed and connects it to the big length of the instrument. And see, I can take it out right here so you can see it's a separate thing. And that basically helps me get the vibrations I create on the reed into the bassoon itself. And then the last word, the 6th word, is keys. So all these little silver rods and buttons here are connected to these keys that help me change the notes on the instrument. There's a whole bunch of them on the bassoon. And my favorite key is called the pancake key. It's right here because it's flat and round and looks like a pancake. And that is very important in this Peter and the Wolf excerpt because it helps me play all my low notes. So in Peter and the Wolf, the bassoon plays the grandpa. And the bassoon is a great choice for the grandpa because of its low, kind of fat, rich tone. Now, the character of Grandpa in Peter and the Wolf is not as sweet as my grandpa was, or as I'm sure many of your grandpas are. He's a little bit gruff, and he's a little bit cranky, but I think it's because he really cares about Peter, and he is nervous about him going into a dangerous situation, like heading into the meadow where the wolf might be. So even though he expresses it very gruffly and very angrily, I think it's because he really wants Peter to be safe, and what grandpa wouldn't want that? So, but we still get those nice, rich, fat, low notes that the bassoon can do to create that gruff, kind of cranky character. So here's what the grandpa music from Peter and the Wolf.
Peter, what are you doing out there in the meadow? Peter! All of a sudden, Peter's grandfather marched out into the meadow, bellowing like a rusty old bassoon.
Young man, if I've told you once, I've told you 1,000,000 times. This meadow is a dangerous place. A very, very dangerous place. The edge of the forest is right over there, you know that. And there are all kinds of ferocious creatures living behind those trees. What if a wolf came out of the forest all of a sudden and gobbled you up? Where would you be then, huh? You'd be in his belly, that's where you'd be. I'm telling you, Peter, once and for all, this meadow is no place for boys to just play around in without a care in the world. Peter, a wolf, there's nothing to laugh about. It's serious business. Very serious business.
But boys like Peter are not afraid of wolves.
Yeah, boys like me are not afraid of wolves. Wolves, stupid old wolves. Am I the kind of kid that's afraid of wolves? Don't think so. Not me. No way. Definitely not.
Peter, who are you talking to? I ask you who you
Well,
Are you making fun of me?
oh man.
Come on, boy. I've had enough of this. More than enough. I'm an old man now. I got more important things to do than to chase you around the meadow every day. You're a big boy now. You ought to know better. I certainly taught you better. Now, young man, you get back in that house right away before I